I am Jessica Dragar, and from the Young Entrepreneur Institute, and our special guest lecturer is Matt Rebar. And we talked a lot last week about audience and who our customers were and who we were trying to engage with. And he left everyone with sort of this statement here about identifying who your customer is, who's your audience. And so please think about it, throw it into the chat, and we'll give a couple more minutes for people joining us. So, and Matt, if you have anything to add about this icebreaker question today, please
Yeah,
do.
I should have added too. What are you selling? What's your product? What's your brand? So kind of thinking, just so I can help like talk it out with you, because I'd love to see what you
Yeah.
came up with. And today we're gonna talk about compelling content, and part of that is knowing your audience, right? So we'll get into that. But
Mhm.
so for now, who's your audience? Put in the chat, what's your brand or product? And I'd love to hear from you guys. So take a little, maybe a minute or two to brainstorm that answer. And if you don't know, no worries. We won't, this isn't a graded activity.
Yeah. And also just want to mention to everybody is that we are going to try to keep this to a really tight 30 minutes. But please know that Matt is going to be available after that 30 minutes to answer any questions. So please feel free, hop off once he's done with the formal presentation. We know that many of you probably have some homework to wrap up with, and then feel free to stick around a little bit later for either Matt or myself to answer any questions for you. And, during this session, you can pretty much, if you guys want to go off screen, that's completely fine. Just want me to like listening in and taking in the content that Matt's going to share with us today about, creating compelling content and getting people to pay attention, getting your audience to pay attention to you on social media. So again, Matt, super happy you're here. And, feel free to get started whenever you'd like. So,
Yeah.
I don't see
Well, we
much
could.
happening in the chat here, so I hate to call out some people.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, perfect.
Oh my gosh,
Lulu.
Lulu,
I was gonna
hi.
say,
Left-handed
yes, we know
cards.
Lulu. Yes,
So I
yes.
love that. So for those who don't know left-handed cards, Lulu started it because of your grandfather, Lulu, right? And your grandfather was left-handed, so you wanted a card because most cards, right, they open with your right hand, right? Or, so I thought such a fun product. And your ideal audience is anyone who knows someone who's left-handed. And the good news, Lulu, is what 12% of people are left-handed. So chances are we all know someone who's left-handed. And I think you have a great way to tap into that audience because with humor and relatability of like being left-handed in a right-handed world, right? That's a great whole piece that you could do content wise. Sasheen is here, and you sell artwork and t-shirts at markets, and you're with your mom. Hi. And your audience is people of a lot of all ages of the market, but also a lot of grandparents who are looking for gifts for grandchildren, for example. And you don't have social media, but you follow things through your mom's Instagram. Well, that's great. I love that you and your mom are working together, superhero squad on social media. I would recommend if you feel like you have a lot of older customers, Facebook definitely is a good way to kind of maybe keep in touch with them. And Facebook's a great way to sell things too. So Nomad Creamery's here. Hi. Your audience is foodies in Northeast Ohio, aged 18 to 35, willing to splurge a bit extra on high quality food and support local business. Ooh, that is a very well thought audience for sure. So young, we're thinking young and food and good news. TikTok, Instagram, ice cream, it's so visual, right? So that would be definitely a great way to target. And I think with your content, I mean, who doesn't like seeing pictures of fun ice cream flavors, right? Shannon's here. Natural skin products. Audience is anyone looking for all natural, good quality skincare products. Absolutely. And I want you to keep diving in, Shannon. I want you to think a little bit more about that. That's a really good start. Allie selling bracelets for inspirational messages, young adults or teens on a self-development journey. Ooh, okay, interesting. So that's going to be good for content because you're thinking, I'm trying to develop my sense of self. Who am I? And that's huge on social media. A lot of us are looking to social media for identity. We talked about that last week. Tristan, okay, great work, Tristan. Katie Ann's here too. All right, cool. Well, we could talk more if you have any questions. Thanks so much for sharing, everybody. I'm so glad that you decided to share. Well, we're going to jump into creating compelling content. So great work identifying your audiences. And guess what? identifying your audiences is all the time. It's a journey because brands, big brands, small brands, medium brands, we're constantly questioning who's our audience, who is supporting, who's buying our product, and that can change, right? So don't worry if you feel like you're not sure yet, because trust me, there are companies like Apple, Nike that are still always trying to tweak who their audience might be. But we got to make some content for the audience on social media, right? So we're going to talk about what kind of content you can make, some takeaways. I'm going to give you my take a seat strategy. So you'll want to be seated for that one. And then, of course, we're going to give you a take home challenge to think about. So, first up, what kind of content can I make? Well, a lot of things. Well, text posts, photos, and videos. That's the vast majority of content that you're going to see on social media. Now, statistically, visual posts get more clicks and shares and comments than just text posts. So at the museum, I don't even do text posts. I always do photos or graphic videos, something visual that people can grab onto. And of course, videos are getting a ton of attention. That's kind of the hot sector right now. So YouTube, TikTok, huge gains in Facebook and Instagram, right? Facebook and Instagram are trying to be like TikTok. Even YouTube is trying to compete with that. YouTube is pushing out 60-second or less videos. So you can get 3,000 views potentially by just uploading a short video to YouTube these days, which before the last couple of years wasn't a thing, right? That's really crazy to think about. 60% of social media usage is for video watching. And if you don't believe that, try and actually, when you're on social media, be like, okay, I spent 10 minutes messaging someone. I spent 20 minutes watching videos, really. So a lot of our time, a vast majority, is spent watching those videos. So what does that mean? Well, we can, of course, have websites, blogs, portfolios, podcasts, live videos going live. That's a great way. Graphics, polls, tournaments, challenge, testimonial, videos or graphics, partner promotion, working with other companies, working with, influencers. You can even do quotes, right? So there's so many different ways to do visual elements, visual content, and of course, for when you're thinking video. And of course, with video, you have so many different styles, right? What's really popular, point of view, wake up with me, get ready with me. You have those kind of confessional where it's me to the camera and I'm just speaking to the camera. You have one takes. There was these two young women who had a rap song and they would run, and that was their thing, and they did it 30 times to the same song. And it was really smart. And it was that one take video, mashup, montage, where we're taking all these things, throwing them together. There's even a trend now, photos as a video. So you take 8, 10 photos and you can kind of have them flip through in a video. And that can kind of maybe actually activate more than just still imagery. So, and to the right, we have this graphic of kind of genres. Think about it like genres. Think about it like books, right? All these different kind of topics and styles and different approaches of content. So let's give some examples. So I work at the Akron Art Museum full time. What are some stuff that we do? Well, on the left, we had a time lapse video setting up this piece. So the time lapse video is fun. In the middle of bottom, that's me doing a live. So we'll go live. We had a photo. We had my friend who's a photographer at the museum took this beautiful eclipse photo, got 520 likes on Instagram alone. Big shares, big engagement for us. We have a graphic. Hey, we have Free Thursday. Come to our Free Thursday graphic. We did this YouTube video that was a trend, and it was just something fun, and it has over 460,000 views on YouTube. It has quintupled our subscribers, and that was just kind of for fun. But sometimes, right, you have to promote the brand. Other times you have more fun. We've done kind of memes. So we did like create your style with our artwork. That's our April Fools right there. So we joked that we were going to become an intergalactic space operation. So take advantage of holidays, take advantage of seasons, take advantage of, oh, today's pizza day, right? So if you have a brand, I'll go back to the ice cream, right? You should know when National Ice Cream Day is. I don't know what day it is off the top of my head, but right, that's something that you want to watch out for. Oh my goodness, it's ice cream week, Cleveland Ice Cream Week. It's, America Ice Cream Month. Those are kind of ways that you can play into content. I talked about quotes, we're an art museum, so our product is art. So sometimes we're just posting the art. So that piece in the middle on the right, that's a recent acquisition. So acquisition is museum speak for we bought it and it's in our collection, right? And of course, just fun candids of what's going on at the bottom right there. Now, looking at Starvolt, what we do is we usually start with a podcast. So we have Starvolt Studios, the channel, and that's going out as a podcast. But then we film most of our podcasts, turn those into long video segments, which then can turn into the shorts. So see how in one take we're recording a podcast and video, and see how many different ways I have taken that content and pushed it out. I have it available so you can listen on a car ride. You can watch the whole thing if you're, someone who uses YouTube, or you like to have that kind of visual element while you, instead of, some people don't like podcasts, and then that becomes a short. And on my channel, what have I been successful with on TikTok? Well, I DJ on the side, and people are fascinated with what songs people don't want to hear at their weddings. I've had like 40 to 50 million views on these videos, like over 4 million likes. And it's really interesting to see that people really respond to that. There's something sometimes absurd. It's like, oh, that's crazy. I couldn't believe that. There's something almost interesting about music taste. A lot of people love music. And so just trying to find things that really tick people's itch to want to watch, want to engage. And that can come through not just you selling the product, right? So we talked about left-handed humor, right? What are skits? What are ways that we can poke fun of right-handed people, or talk about, like, oh, it's, these are struggles that left-handed people face. And that's the kind of relatability. That's the kind of, fun. That's the kind of absurdism that I think people gravitate towards. Look at viral videos on your own feed, and don't watch them just to enjoy them. Watch them and think, why did that go? Why did that pop off? Why did that get a lot of views? Or why did that not get a lot of views if it didn't, right? So let's talk about,
Hey, Matt.
oh yeah.
Matt, quick question. Can you elaborate a little bit on what a point of view video is? It was one of the questions that just came in.
Oh,
Just to
sorry. I
give
should
a
be looking
brief.
at the chat. Yeah.
That's
So
okay. No, no. And I'm happy to pop in when I see them, but I was gonna
yeah.
try to answer it, and then I took a step back and I thought, wait a minute, I'm gonna let the expert do it really quickly. So if you
Yes.
can just share very briefly what that is, that would be awesome.
So it's kind of two things, because the correct point of view is that the camera, we're seeing it from my position, my point of view, which means if we're seeing it from my point of view, right? I'm filming like this is me walking, right? That's my point of view. But social media has incorrectly, a good chunk of it, they call point of view that, like, oh, you're watching me. So it's one of those things where technically point of view is the camera is going to be your eyes. The camera acts as your eyes. That's your point of view, what you are seeing. You're the point. But social media has turned that to be, oh, watch me, with my ice cream. I'm scooping ice cream. Point of view, watch me make ice cream, which technically isn't point of view, but social media has taken that. And you'll see sometimes social media, we get the wrong things, right? We call it the wrong thing. We use the wrong words. And that's kind of an interesting part of social media as well. Does that answer the question
I
anymore?
don't think so. So I think it might have been from Sachin. So in my mind, I'm thinking like maybe it would be really cool for Sachin to be taking a video while he's making some of his artwork, and then he could share that, like
Yes.
sort of what he's seeing while he's making it. So I see Mom nodding your head in the background. So that could be kind of a cool idea. So
And
okay,
there's almost
great.
there's a few different ways you can do that, right? I'm filming me doing it, so you're seeing me doing it. You're seeing it as if you're me painting, right? You're seeing it as if you're the canvas and I'm painting, yeah, right? So there's almost some different ways that you can play with the perspective of what you're shooting. Okay, so Hootsuite came out with these content pillars. There's 4 pillars of content. 1, educate, right? We want to bring awareness, tips, frequently asked questions. So, if someone has a product, why is your product the best? Right? We should know why our product's the best, right? We should be prepared if we have to, give a pitch or give a video, give a testimonial. Top 10 list. How many of you, maybe you've scrolled, it's like top 10 places to go get ice cream in Cleveland. And you're like, oh, what's number 1? That's educational as well. Entertaining. Listen, one of the favorite reasons we use social media and why we probably use it too much is because we want to be entertained. We want to fill our time with something that's funny, behind the scenes. How is it made? Walk me through the history. How did ice cream get invented? And there's maybe a funny story. Unusual stories about your brand, right? How did the brand get together? Lulu, the fact that your company started because of, your grandfather was left-handed and you wanted a card to give to him, right? That's an unusual story. Before and after. We love a good transformation, right? So, oh, here, if you have a cleaning product, right? Here's a really disgusting bathroom, but after you use my cleaning product, look at it now, right? Think of the Febreze commercials when Febreze like the stinky room, and it's kind of like a little bit of that. Inspiring. So another content pillar is focusing on people, focusing on social responsibility, involving with the community. So if you have a product, I think someone talked about environmental, that their product is tied into the environment, right? As part of our company, we go out once a month to Edgewater Beach to clean up, trash. Oh, we believe it's really important. We actually save a gallon of water with each dozen product we make, and show us that gallon of water. Like, that's a significant amount of water per dozen batch of your product. And so that's where Inspire comes in. And of course, the one I'm sure you all are like, I know this, promoting. Shopping now. We have a deal. It's BOGO week. It's sale week. Enter our contest. Like, follow, subscribe, and you get entered to win the product. See the link in the bio. Leave a comment. Tell your friends about us. So those are 4 content pillars. And the thing about this is you want to think about divvying up your content to fit that. So if you're always promoting, what motivates me to like that? Yeah, maybe I'll want to know that you have a BOGO, but if every single post is buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, see how monotonous that becomes? See how it's like, oh, right? You want to follow brands that are, educational and entertaining, maybe inspiring. And, any brand's going to have something to promote, right? All right, so some other takeaways. These are takeaways from Steve Reynolds, and he actually works with radio, broadcasting, podcasts. But he talks about our biggest competition when it comes to content, it's non-consumption. So maybe you're not even fighting a bad reputation. Maybe you don't have a reputation, right? So don't even think about it like, is my content good enough? I don't know if it's good enough. You're not making it, right? Then no one's seeing it. No one's reacting to it. So it's a really good drive. We vote, we represent, we love brands based on emotion and connection, putting faces to your brand, right? Hey, this is my product and I made it. This is this is me. If you have a staff, right? Seeing the staff, and that makes it feel genuine, and people like genuine things. How many of us have watched a social media video that feels like, oh, that was bad acting, right? Steve talks about 3 T's of content, which is topic, the treatment, so how the topic's presented, and the tone, the emotion. So pretty quick. And think of it as an experience. Social media as an experience. I like that. So 4 things to craft a show or a brand. Well, fun, right? Fun's great. Authentic, being genuine, absolutely. Thinking innovation, not necessarily wacky, so it needs to fit the brand, but still innovative. So don't feel like, wow, I have to be really silly to get likes. I have to be, do things that don't feel like it fits the brand. If your brand's calm and a place for people to come and, be calm, right? That's going to feel a little differently. Then you don't want to mess that up. And of course, being relevant. We want to be around people who feel like us. I know these people. It's important to me. So some other considerations, well, you want to grab people's attention. And that's with images and text. Think of that striking moment. Take advantage of those trends. Time. When are you posting? If you want to leverage influencers, partnerships, tags, shares, emojis in captions, huge. And it took me a while to get around to it because I was like, I don't know if I like that, but emojis and captions have proven to actually really help companies, with engagement. And of course, mentions. So emojis, for example, you might be wondering, well, I don't really have an emoji that fits. First of all, there's like thousands of emojis. So take a look through the emojis and you might find one that fits, right? There's probably an ice cream cone. We've talked about soap today. We've talked about jewelry. Look through and see what happens. But you can use something like an arrow, right? An arrow pointing, oh, you download, go to this link, stars, starburst, using check marks, right? The green check mark, the red X, those are kind of strong emotional things that don't need to be explained. We all look at the check mark and we know check mark means good, right? So really easy way to incorporate. Let's go through real quick my take a seat strategy. So S is for story. So you want to hook us right at the beginning. How many of you make that rash judgment if you're going to watch a video in a second or two? So if we're not grabbed at the beginning, we're not sticking around. And now the shorter the content that you have, that's better. For 10, 15, 20 seconds, I might stick around if I'm unsure. But if I see it's a 60-second video, if I see it's a few minutes, right, I'm going to move on. My time is really valuable. Create a story around your experience starting the company, starting the brand, your experience, meeting people who buy the product, your experience making the product, everything you do in connection. That is the experience. Tell us that story. Take the mundane and make it a story. When I worked in radio, this was a great exercise. We would talk about things that felt really like that's stupid, right? We talked about, at Costco when there's the two people getting gas and there's the middle section to drive out, and is it appropriate to drive out? And you're probably thinking that sounds boring, but you could take something as simple as that in your real life experience. Think about something that happened today that may not have been that exciting, but think about how you can make it exciting. Take those observations and build upon them. Think of basic story elements, good versus bad, moving pieces that tie together, absurd, fantasy, escapism, right? These are things that we love watching on Netflix. We love reading in books. Our next one is emotion. E is for emotion. S is for story. E is for emotion. Showcase emotion. You have to make us feel some type of way, right? Think about sometimes it feels like, well, how do I make emotion, right? How does a buy one, get one clearance on my store have emotion? Buy one, get one. Buy one, get one. Buy one, get one. See how I said that 3 different times with 3 different emotions, and it made you feel a little bit different, right? The first one had that energy. The second one was kind of sad. You probably didn't want to buy that product. The third one was mysterious. So those are all different ways. Key into that emotion. And this chart to the right, don't try and read it all, but this is an emotional wheel. And it kind of comes down to, right, happy, angry, sad, disgusted, surprised, bad, and fearful. And these are ways that we can play, right? In joyful versus thankful, that's different. Maybe you might feel thankful, but not joyful. And you could feel joyful, but not thankful, right? And so that's a way to approach it as well, right? And of course, they can play with each other. Happy and sad together can be bittersweet, right? And sometimes they say it's as simple as love and fear. I love this product. I'm fearful that without this product, my life's going to be harder, right? A is for action. So we want that person with our content, we might be asking them to commit action based on it. What does action look like? Well, it could be simple. Engagement. I'm liking, I'm commenting, I'm sharing, duetting, remixing. That's an action that I'm doing based on your comment. It can be very short term, right? I'm going to buy one piece of your product. I'm going to attend one event. I'm going to come to the market and check out your artwork. I'm going to maybe follow you on a social media, right? I might engage in the long run, but that could build into long-term action, right? Me constantly, checking in. Me, I buy every Christmas. I come to buy gifts for my family for Christmas seasons and holiday seasons. Action can be, think of these quotes. I want to try this. I want to see more. I have questions that I want to figure out about this product. This is interesting. How is this made? How much does it cost? I want to buy this. That's all action based. And our last take a seat strategy, takeaway. Takeaway can be something you've learned. Okay. And this makes for good content too. Think about it as takeaway as something that you would talk about at lunch with friends. Hey, you won't believe what I saw on TikTok today. Hey, on my drive in, the radio was talking about how there's going to be so much traffic for the eclipse that never happened. So it can be news. It could be stupid information, right? Like, hey, did you know that there's 1 million frogs in Brazil? Which don't, fact check me on that. It can be events. What's happening? Hey, this weekend there's going to be a concert downtown, right? That's takeaway that I've taken and I'm sharing with people. It can be personal, something that I've learned about myself, how I see the world. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was an option. Right? And think about those moments when you've heard something, you've engaged something, and that's been kind of like, oh. Now, your content might not use all 4. It might not have story and emotion and action and takeaway. But if you can't identify one of those 4 in your content, something's probably wrong. Okay? So that would be my challenge to you. Now, how do we apply that real quick? Because this one, we can get into the weeds. Let's say you have a stream or you're doing a podcast, right? The emotion. I won the video game that I was streaming. This song is fun, you guys. We have an exciting giveaway. Story, right? I might talk on my stream. If I'm doing a live video and that's an hour of me talking, I got to have stories. How else am I going to fill the time? I might talk about my experience on a podcast. I might connect to the material. We might have a guest who has a story. The action, right? I want you to keep watching. I want you to subscribe. I want you to keep listening, right? And takeaway, I'm showcasing skills. If I'm good at video games and you're watching my Twitch, right? You're like, oh, I didn't know I could beat that level. I didn't know that this was a thing. It makes me think I could play that video game. What's relevant to me, right? We can skip these. Well, actually, let's talk about advertisement because that's a lot of you with brand. So advertisement, emotion. You're excited to try and buy it. Happiness if you have it, sadness if you don't have it. There's like a lot of fast food commercials where it comes down to in that 30-second ad, oh, my life is really tough right now, but oh, I get fast food place. The story should be, well, why do you need this product? Why your life needs this product? And of course, the action, we want people to buy the product. That's easy. And of course, takeaway can be information about the product. Hey, the way that I make my ice cream, it looks like this. Why your product's the best in the field? What makes your product special? And then I go, well, I really want a product that is environmental. And I saw their little ad, I saw their post, and maybe that's where I'm going to buy my soap, where I'm going to buy my skincare product. So some other quick tips. Local never hurts if you're a local brand. So good news, everybody. You're all local brands, right? So how do we tap into Cleveland for our content? How do we tap into Northeast Ohio? Of course, some of you who might be listening, you might not be from Cleveland. So hello, if you're not from the area. But tapping into locally, what's going on locally? Right now, what did we all do on Monday at 3 p.m.? We all saw the eclipse. And that was a great way to get some content with your brand, right? Where's your audience from? So some of you, maybe you're from Cleveland, but maybe you have 3,000 followers who are in Japan. So that might motivate you to think differently on what kind of content you're putting out. We don't have good attention spans, right? So we got to be quick. Length does not equate to excellence. You should strive for an excellent, shorter piece of content than a larger one. Anyone out there who likes podcasting, my biggest advice, don't do 3-hour episodes. Focus on really good 30 to 45-minute episodes. Why? When do you listen to a podcast? You're in the car, right? How many of us drive more than 20, 30 minutes for work? Anyone here have a 3-hour commute to work or school? No. So that's going to mean I'm going to have to listen to that long podcast over a few days. And at that point, it might feel exhausting. It might not feel worth that, right? True success is really a big part of this. That's why I have the consistency graphic. It's consistency, and it's the hardest thing to do. It really is. I struggle with it. A lot of people I know struggle with it with their personal channels, especially when I get paid to do certain people's material. I got to focus on that. So sometimes my personal brand takes a back seat, right? So if you put out something, you want to be consistent with it. As soon as you stop being consistent, right, you're going to get out of whack. And then that could affect your view count and how you're seen. I have a student who is doing social media for a radio station right now, and they've been able to triple their view count just in part by consistency. We post 4 videos a week. And guess what? You can do this even if we're going to post twice a week, and set yourself to that consistency. Some other tips, we want to keep it simple. And if it's simple, we're going to get it done. Now, what if the content I want to do, it takes a long time? I call this should I get this tattoo? I don't have any tattoos, but I call it that. If you have this idea for a grand piece of content, I want to do a full movie with my product. I want to do this whole big documentary about, the story of my company. These sound like great things, but we all know it's going to take a long time. Sit on it for a while. Think about it. Does this idea hold up? Do I get better ideas to execute that project? Or maybe in a few months I go, I know I said I was going to do a documentary, but I don't know if that's worth my time or energy right now. Okay. Video is the future. It really is. So I think all of you, no matter what your content is, you want to be thinking about what kind of things you can do with video. And you should enjoy what you make. I see so many people who don't look like they're enjoying what they do. and that their product suffers and hurts. And I'd rather see people exit social media, making it, being part of it if they don't enjoy it, than putting things out into the internet just because, oh, well, here we go. We're going to do it again. The audience also can tell when you don't. They can catch on pretty quickly. So I have a friend who works at TikTok, and here are some things that my friend at TikTok tells me. Hashtags are irrelevant, apparently, which I was shocked to hear. I still don't believe it to this day, but he promises to me, he goes, try posting without hashtags and see if your view count changes. So I've done it, and a couple of times it's worked. So I don't know if it's a fluke, but I'm telling you, I'm giving you the best advice that I've been given. 9 to 15 seconds is key for what TikTok actively decides to push out to people. So TikTok itself, their algorithm is set that if it's in that 9 to 15 second window, it's more likely to be pushing that out. Trending music isn't necessary for success. It can sometimes actually become irrelevant with how many people who are using trending music. That's what I've been told. Now, sometimes I'll use it. I'll go right to the hot trending music and I'll use it. And think of niches. So an example here is Water Talk, which if you've not heard about Water Talk, they take water and they take packets and they turn their water into pina colada blue raspberry, right? Which is ridiculous, but they get millions of views. So what would I do? Let's say if I have a water bottle. I have I'm making little flavor packets for water. I'm doing something in that. How can I tap into them? Can I connect with, hey, you're an influencer. Can I just mail you my cool water bottle that, can boil water in 2 seconds, which I don't think that's a thing. But right, think about those niche communities, small groups and pockets that exist on TikTok, on Reddit, on Facebook, right? The what's going around Akron page has 60,000 people in it. So when I go in there as the museum and I post, that's a niche. That is directly hitting people who want to know what's going on in Akron, right? Some idea for hashtags. I won't read them all thoroughly, but a lot of people I know are like, what do I hashtag? So think about how you can tie that into, your posts. So for example, with daily, right? We do a Monday motivational. So I do hashtag motivational Monday, hashtag Monday motivational. That way, those are two big size groups. I get both on the same post. And of course, don't forget local. You guys, local business. So hashtag Cleveland, hashtag CLE. There's like Cleveland music, CLE music. Look into that. See what's out there. It might be worth investigating. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, all that I've told you will not guarantee you'll succeed, go viral, or have a large following, but they will help increase your chances. So we have no guarantees, but all of this together will put you at a better advantage than just haphazardly creating content. All right. So your next step, create 2 pieces of content. Go do it. Now that you've had your audience, or maybe you still need to identify your audience, try and make some really compelling content with some of the tips that I've given you and see what happens. Put it out on the internet. And you know what? The best part is social media is so fleeting that even if it doesn't do well, everyone's going to forget about it in like a day, right? I mean, even a post that does really well on my end, it might do really well and then it's gone. It's very fleeting. So some ideas, of course, right? We're thinking about those content pillars: educate, entertain, inspire, promote. We're thinking about the elements. So story, emotion, action, takeaway. So if I'm going to educate you, I might want to focus on takeaway. If I'm going to entertain you, story and emotion is key. Inspire might involve story and emotion, or action, takeaway, or all 4, right? So think about those when you create your content. And of course, back to week 1, we're thinking about our audience. Content absolutely can be targeted to your audience and should be uploaded with consideration. So the way I'm uploading, the way I'm captioning. So I might caption a post differently on Facebook than TikTok. I might have the same video, but maybe I edit it differently for Facebook versus TikTok, right? Maybe Facebook, I have a 2-minute edit. And then for TikTok, I have like a 30-second edit, right? So, all right. Any questions? If those of you who have to run, we'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to jump into, I believe, identifying your social media strategy. But if anyone wants to stick around, they have questions, or even if you want to stick around and hear what other people have for their questions, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week. So I'll pass it back over to Jessica.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Thank you, friends, for joining us. For those of you again that want to hop off, you can. Just so you know, all of these sessions are being recorded, which I apologize. I think I neglected to say this week, but they are recorded. So these are going to be on the YI YouTube channel. This current session will be up by the end of this week, and I believe that last week's session is already there for those of you that want to go back and take a quick look at it. And we're just really excited to see you guys all again. Same time, same place next week. Oh, thank you, Eileen. Eileen just threw in the link for last week's session. And one quick question did come in earlier. Someone was asking how you find all of like your trending, like the trends. Like where do you look for those things if you're trying to figure out where trends are happening? How do you find them?
You know, it depends on the app. Sometimes you could go and Google what's trending on TikTok, and that'll help you. On music, especially on TikTok, I'm sure a lot of you who have used TikTok, right? We got that hot trending icon. And sometimes you know something's a trend when you see it, like a TikTok video on your Facebook. When we're crossing
Okay.
apps, that's a great indication that something's coming up. Now, they say on average, for you to notice a trend, you have to see something 15 times,
Wow.
which
Okay.
I don't know about you. That's a lot of times for me to see a trend. So,
Right.
for people who are in the industry, that means we got to be extra sharp, extra on the lookout. And sometimes, trends come and go. Other times they stick around, right? So, you might feel like, is it too late to post? But if it was a really strong trend that still, is churning out videos, for example, our YouTube video that we did about, of course, I'm a curator, which is based of, I'm a curator. So, of course, that trend had been out for a couple months, but we still managed to get 460K. So sometimes if it's a really successful trend and you're like, it's been around, have I jumped the shark? No, probably not. You could probably still get away with tackling it.
Yeah.
And sometimes just because something's a trend, I should clarify this too. Just because something's a trend doesn't mean that it makes sense for your brand. Right. So you don't want to feel like, well, this is trending. I got to do it. No, no, no. Think about how you can do it and also what kind of spin can you do on it as well. I sometimes see trends where, yeah, it starts with people doing the same thing, but then the more popular videos that come out of it tend to be inverting the trend, doing something different with the trend, right? With the of course one, there was videos where people were like deliberately messing up on camera and saying stuff that like the person who was filming was like, no, we don't want to say that, or like, oh, that's, like we're hiding the truth, or, and so those are ways that people take the trend and they do a little twist, they do a little spin. And that's a really unique way that they still tie into it, but provide something fresh.
Awesome. Another question we have is that I think this can maybe go a couple different ways. Is that with social media, I think it's like, is there a particular platform that's better for younger students or younger entrepreneurs to
Mhm.
utilize? But I could see this could go a couple ways though. One could be maybe what's most easily used, right? But then other
Yeah.
things could be, well, where's the easiest place to capture your audience, right?
Mhm.
So, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a really good question. I'm very young, everybody. I'm 10 years old. No, just kidding. I'm old. I'm an adult. And I grew up right at the birth of social media. So when I was 12, 13, that's when everyone wanted to be on Facebook. So, it's kind of hard because I've lived my whole life pretty much as like a teen adult on social media. I wouldn't say that there is necessarily a better app. Of course, we know data wise, TikTok is where a lot of young teenagers go. Teenagers also go to Instagram. And I would say, though, for shopping, Facebook and Instagram's probably where your best bet is for your brand, no
Mm,
matter the age.
yeah.
So that probably helps you. And I would say, too, if you're feeling like, I don't know, this whole social media thing feels like a lot, this is a perfect way to work with a parent, work with an older trusted sibling, bring in people, if you have a really trusted family member who, they seem like they know social media really well or better, this is where you can go to them and say, I don't really know Facebook. I don't really know TikTok. Like let's discover it together. For sure as well. Email can be social media too. Eileen, that's a great point. We're not going to talk about email marketing as much in this seminar, but absolutely, if you have emails that you've collected, right? So we're sending out blasts to them. Hey, it's BOGO Day. Hey, it's Black Friday, so we have a big
Mhm.
sale. It's Cyber Monday, we have a big sale. That's absolutely a great way, and that's a bit easier. Depends. I would say it's easier, but maybe because I'm a professional, so maybe it's easier because I think that. But and to go with Allie, how do I approach advertising my product on social media safely? Well, couple things. One, we all need to watch out for spams. We need to watch out for people who are trying to trick us. We get at the museum at least once a day someone saying your account's going to be deactivated. That's spam, right? So we definitely want to watch out for that. We don't want to fall into any of those rabbit holes. I say too, always work with a parent or a guardian, a trusted adult, right? So have that account be open between the two of you. You can have pages and accounts managed by multiple people. We have 3 people on who can technically post and administer on our museum Facebook page, who can do it on our Twitter, who can do it on our, X Twitter. Uh, Multiple people have access. So that's totally possible. So you can work with people, and especially if there's a situation where you're like, I don't know, this feels a little weird. Absolutely say something, right? Go to your parent. You can always block people. You can report people as spam. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I think in week 4, talking about managing. How do I respond to customers? How do I react to trolls? How do I, react to those, unfortunately, the negative sides of social media as well?
Yeah, that actually makes me think that maybe once our social media boot camp is over, maybe this is something that we can explore about like safety measures while using social media in general, Allie, and maybe that could be helpful for you and some of the other
Mhm.
student entrepreneurs. And so we can look into that as a topic. But I think that all of Matt's recommendations are great by working with a parent, being cognizant of the information that you're sharing
Mhm.
about yourself. We
Yes.
obviously don't want you sharing really your specific location, or maybe where communities that you live in, or being mindful of making sure you're careful with sharing your
Mhm.
maybe your school or your other hobbies and interests, just
Yeah.
being mindful so that we're making sure that you are safe. And I know that that's one of the things that Patty and I oftentimes will get calls from people saying, hey, I met a student in a market, I'd like to get in touch with them. And we never share your information. We'll give that information to you directly to then be able to reach back out to that customer in a safe manner,
Mhm.
so that you can connect with them. So,
Mhm.
that's something we can definitely consider,
Mhm.
more like safe social practices
Yeah.
or something.
And
So,
there's practices that everyone, regardless of age, should
right.
be taking in.
Be
A good
using.
example is when I go on vacation, because I love to travel. I really don't post when I'm on vacation. I wait till I'm at
Yeah.
home. Because guess what? And I hate that we have to think like this. If I post I'm on vacation, I can't, I'm not at home, that could be someone could go, well, where does he live? Should I go over to his house and see what kind of goodies I could get? Right. So it's almost those little things. If we're posting, let's say you have an office and you have some very sensitive information on a little you have some sheets hanging up with numbers, with data, right? And we're doing a selfie with the product. We want to make sure that that's not in. And that's happened before where brands go, oh my gosh, we just posted and we had very important information. We had things that we didn't want to see. And sometimes editing, right? So if you're editing and there's someone in the background who's saying, oh, I can't wait until we go home to your address at 12345 West 12th Street. And that gets caught in the content, right? And it's stuff like that we have to be very cognizant of. And when someone messages you, because customers are going to have questions. That's the first thing we know about customer service, right? So if they question you, hey, tell me about your product, right? That's an appropriate question for them to ask. But if they ask things that you're like, this has nothing to do with my brand or product, right? We want to watch out for that kind of behavior as well. So, and like Jessica said, we could definitely talk more about it. And I think the biggest thing is when in doubt, ask somebody. And that's me as an adult. I do that to my boss. When I'm in doubt, when I'm not sure, I ask. I don't sit on it. I don't think about it. I don't just sit there and go, well, maybe. No, I'm gonna figure it out so that I do the right thing, that I'm flagging just in case. Because I would rather, someone maybe I'm like that feels sketchy, and then guess what? It wasn't. I'd rather that happen than me go, oh no, I trust them, and then something bad happens, right? So we want to be a bit proactive there.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much, Matt, for your time today. I know I'm learning so much as we go along this
Yeah.
journey together. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Unless there's any other questions, we're going to wrap up our evening. And we hope to see you guys all again next Wednesday. Do your homework and, we'll be back to share. So